Today we bring you Flying Nun's newest band, Recitals. Their debut album is called Orbit 1 and is just about to be released. Recitals are a 7-piece band with 6 of them based in Wellington and 1 in Auckland. We're talking to trumpet player Tharushi and cello player Olivia Wilding. She's the Aucklander. So let's find out how these 7 musicians got together. The album is out imminently. So how are you feeling about it all?
I'm super excited. It's been such a long time coming. Like, we've been chipping away at this since 2020 and it got delayed so many times. So it's been slow, but also it feels like it's come really quickly. I don't know what you feel, Tharushi.
Okay. So Recitals is a 7-piece band, which seems insane. I'm surprised that you guys could get together and agree to do anything and get anything done, because I've worked with bands and it's bad enough when there's 4 people in the band. So, so each of you perhaps tell me how you got involved with the group, starting. I'm going to mess up your name, even though you told me about it, so you can do it again, please.
Sure. So my name is said Tharushi. Tharushi. Yeah, that's it.
All right.
I was asked to join by Xanthi, who sings and plays bass in the band. She had this vision for a big band. She was just like, I'm going to start a big band, and you can play drums. We already have a drummer, but we can have 2 drums. And I was really keen to join, and I had already been thinking about picking the trumpet back up again. So it seemed like a really good opportunity. And that's how I got involved.
All right, Olivia?
Yeah, I was at the music school. I actually saw a poster for it at the music school, and I thought it sounded really cool, but I actually had been there for a while, so I was like, I won't do anything. But then Xanthi messaged me just after I moved to Auckland, so everyone's Wellington based, and I was like, I really, really want to play in a band, and it sounds really cool. So if you'll have me, I'll just travel when I need to. And Xanthi was like, that's fine, we can do that. So, yeah.
And you're playing cello, correct?
I'm playing cello in the band, yeah. So, yeah, not many opportunities come along for playing cello in a band.
That's true. I mean, so we got a trumpet player and a cello player, and there are 5 other people in the band playing various instruments, guitars and basses and drums. So when the band came together, did you guys have an idea of what you wanted this to sound like, or you were just like, well, we're all together, let's see what happens?
Not necessarily. When the band started, Xanthi, Josh, and Christian, they were writing songs together, and Xanthi was still trying to find people to join. So there were a few people who actually had joined, but then they couldn't stay for some reason. So it took a little while actually to get to the group that we have now, although we've stuck with it for a long time. And even then, I think it took a long time to find what our sound would be, just because it takes a while to get to working together in a group, especially if there's 7 people. It's the same for if you have 2 people or 3 people. Yeah. But I think the album Orbit 1, that's what this represents, is just navigating this coming together of all of these different people.
Anything to add to that, Olivia?
Yeah, well, I knew Tharushi and Josh in the band, and I didn't really know much about Xanthi or anybody else. And I agreed to the band before I even knew what I was really signing up for, and it wasn't until I got sent the first 4 songs, and then I listened to them and I got really excited. I was like, this is awesome, actually. I'm really glad I joined. But until then, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to even like this music, but I love it. So I made the right decision there.
So you guys are mentioning Xanthi a lot. So that she's the bass player and vocalist. Is there a leader of the band? Is she the one that's kind of at the top of the totem pole there?
That's a question we get asked a lot.
And again,
It's like, it definitely was her vision to put the whole thing together, and part of that was just like, she was just doing a lot of the coordinating. But as we've gone forward, we do just delegate a lot of the roles to other people. And in terms of like how we make decisions, even if someone is like asking Xanthi, she always brings that back to the rest of the band. So I don't know. Yeah, there's this kind of weird like conception that there's like some kind of authoritarian regime going on,
Right.
but it's just not like that
Not
at all.
Everything's like consensus. Everything's
Right,
a
right.
poll. We make the decision together.
So when you get into the studio, tell me how anything gets done. What's the working situation like?
Do you mean the recording studio
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Olivia wasn't even there
No.
when we recorded a lot of the stuff. She recorded all of her parts separately. I mean, you can talk about that, Olivia.
I will.
She will.
I'm trying to restrain to remember what recording was like. So we recorded a few songs at the Stomach in Palmerston North, and yeah, I think we sort of did guitars first. Everything was sort of recorded separately, I guess.
Right.
And that's the same at every recording studio or bedroom. All of the parts were recorded separately, but then put together. And so there were times where I was like at the recording studio and it was just me and one other person. Like we weren't actually all there together.
Right. So Olivia, you were in Auckland during most of the making of the record?
Yeah, a lot of the times I was dealing with my own special COVID lockdowns for Auckland, so I just couldn't be there anyway.
Right.
But it was good because it gave me something to do. I just had my laptop and a microphone, and they would send me songs, and I would just record ideas and send them back, and then they'd be like, "Yes, that's great," or maybe can we try something like this? And so we'll just have a bit of back and forth and keep going until we have something that we're all happy with.
Right,
And
right.
actually, I really liked that process. It was really good because it allowed me to try a lot of different ideas out as well and have more time and space to conceptualize what I wanted to do.
Right. So how did you guys hook up with Flying Nunner? How did they find out about you? What happened there?
We sent it through to them. I think they have like a little thing on their website to email the record. We sent it through and they liked it.
And at that point, did you have the whole record made, or was it just a couple of tunes that you sent through? Were they demos or were they finished?
I think it might have been finished.
I think it was
Right.
finished, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we were going to release it, I don't know, maybe like months ago. I
Right.
guess it was ready, but then we got signed and that was awesome.
Okay.
And here we are.
And here we are. So songwriting wise, how does that work in the band? Who writes, who does what? Does everybody write? Does some people write? How does it work?
It's a bit different now, the way we write. So before, like I said, it was like Christian, Josh, Xanthi doing the main kind of writing, and then the rest of us would add on our parts.
Right.
So for me, like I would just come to practice and then just try and figure out by ear what kind of trumpet parts might fit in.
Right.
Xanthi also helped me a lot with that. But now the songwriting has changed. It's a lot more collaborative and we're kind of swapping instruments around too. And we're also intentionally leaving space for the people who are in Auckland. So we're like, okay, no, we're not actually going to write anything here because Olivia is going to do something here.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's pick a couple of, you've already released a few tracks before in advance of the album. So maybe we can pick there's one called Gradient, which I think is the most recent one. And there's a video with it. So who can tell me about the song, and who wants to tell me about the video?
Changing the colors of my world, descending colors, brown and orange dust.
The video was directed by Matilda, and who also co-directed the Arrow music video. It was and co-produced Matilda and Xanthi.
Right.
And they got together an incredible group of artists. They made all of the props, and it was really awesome for us. They were like, don't worry about the music video, we've got this. And then created that really beautiful, colourful, beautiful video.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any like specific questions.
Yeah, well,
about
there's
that,
like
but-
marionettes and puppets and things. Did somebody
Yeah.
make them specifically for the video?
I think they might have found the puppets, but then dressed them, like coating the horse in nail polish, that sort of thing. Like, there's so much attention to detail. Like, there's a little amulet that one of the puppets wears, and that Xanthi made that, and it's got little R's carved into it. So yeah, there's a lot of attention to detail. Lots to look at in there. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Olivia, what can you tell us about the song itself?
What can I tell you? The funny thing is, like, I'm never in the room when the songs are getting written or anything. I just get them
Right, I
when
understand.
they've sort of become what they are, and I don't necessarily know the meaning behind it, and I just put my like part in there and just take from what I think is happening.
Right.
So in terms of any specific meaning or intention behind it, I genuinely have no idea. But I love the song. It's one of my favorite ones that I put cello onto.
Cool. So
Yeah, I've been wondering, how did you write that? Sorry,
No,
I'm
go
not
ahead.
trying to hijack,
No.
but how did you write your cello part for that?
Yeah, that one's nice because I get a lot more of like a melodic line rather than like chugging through. I just did like a lot of layering stuff up, and I was worried that it was going to be too much, but everyone was like, you can just put more, like do a whole string section. So I was getting really frustrated because I hadn't done much like writing music before, and I was trying out so many different things, and I just eventually just sent some stuff, and I was like, here's Xanthi, what do you think? Like, put it with colours, see what people like, and everyone liked it. So I did not have a process at all. I was figuring it out as I went along.
Cool. So I'm curious, after hearing the whole record, how do you, if somebody comes up to you, friends or neighbors or somebody on the street, and says, what does your band sound like? What would you say to them?
It's such a hard question.
It really is.
I
It's
thought it
so
would be.
different
I have
from
no
song to song
idea.
as well.
Yeah. I guess I would say, like, some of the songs are quite dreamy, and then others are quite chaotic or grand.
Right?
Yeah, I find it hard to describe, like to pin it into a genre. It's really hard to have that kind of point of view about your own music or about a project that you're a part of, I feel like.
Yep.
Yeah. I
You
always
describe it well, because like I have notes here for the songs. The pip is dreamy and followed by arrow, which is a cacophony of sound. So there you go.
yeah.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Olivia?
No, I always have like really different responses from people that hear the music, and like all these different comparisons to bands that are in like totally different genres. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, it's interesting. Like, I never thought of it like that, because like Tharushi says, it's really hard to identify like what our own music is. Like being inside it, I have no idea. I always just say just an alternative indie pop rock. Like we just flow through a lot of different things, even throughout the duration of even one song. So yeah.
So what kind of stuff do you listen to on your own, or what influences your musicality?
Well, I'm classically trained, so
I had a feeling you might be with the cello in hand.
yeah. So I studied classical performance. So I have all my training in classical music, but the music I listen to is actually quite similar to the stuff that we play. A lot of just sort of indie alternative pop and rock stuff, a lot of like Radiohead and I'm trying to think. I don't want to name specific artists because
do it.
There isn't anyone that I would say is like my influence. It's really just like on the day what I feel like.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
And Tharushi?
Yeah, I also listen to a lot of music that is similar to Recitals. There's this really cool band that they played while we were recording the Arrow music video. We had some downtime. They're called Caroline. Really awesome album. I feel like it's just like, really like beautifully emo. I love like Midwest emo. That's definitely my roots. But yeah, I was also classically trained in piano, so I also listen to a lot of classical music, and then I think when you are a musician and you just appreciate music, you do just like what Olivia was saying, you just dip into whatever it is that you kind of need or are craving at the time. I don't really feel limited in what genres I listen to.
I'm the same. I just like things that are, I guess maybe it's because of my classical training, I like things that are like really harmonically and rhythmically interesting and have just like a lot of different elements going on, which is why it's really fun working with this group because we just have that by default with 7 people as well. Yeah.
Cool. So what do you think? What is the commonality that keeps the 7 of you together, or brings the 7 of you together?
I think this might be a cop out, but it's like unspoken, like it might even just be friendship, like when, like I said, like we are all just really experienced musicians, and we were able to like finally kind of lock in and understand how to play with each other, and so now I think it's like quite intuitive. A lot of the songwriting happening now is just like, it's just happening through discussion, and you just give feedback to each other as well, like I really like what you were doing there, or I really think you could add something here with your instrument. So I don't know, like I think it's just that we're all pretty good musicians, and we kind of let the music take the lead, and I guess we know what we don't like, or we're vocal about when something's kind of veering somewhere that we're not really keen on. But a lot of the things, like in band practice when we're writing, it's just like, I think the drum beat should be a little bit faster. Like, I think this song really wants to be driven, and I think it actually wants to build and then pull back. Or we will be like, no, I think it wants to build, and then we're just going to stop and we're going to surprise the audience. That kind of thing. So I think like rhythm and dynamics are like really important to us. But when it comes to the individual parts, there's like the freedom of the instrumentalist.
Cool. So have you done many live gigs yet?
Yeah, COVID really.
I'll take that as a no.
We've done a few. I feel like I've traveled to Wellington for quite a few gigs now.
Okay.
But
like
I was at the wine cellar last night, and I was thinking about talking to you guys. And I was like, how are they had 7 people on stage there? So there is that. So tell me what happens when you're on stage and how things maybe change from what we hear on the record.
Well, I guess on stage, like one of the limiting factors is like we don't always have all of the parts that we have on the album. So
Right.
so like for me, I'm trying to like do as many double stops as I can on cello if I can, but like I know that for some songs all the vocal harmonies wouldn't be there. So Tharushi might be doing some like extra stuff that you weren't doing on the album, or like bits get filled in ways that we weren't doing them before. But it's really fun. Like it doesn't feel like less. It's just different in how we present it. You could say Tharushi.
Yeah, it does get a little bit cramped. It does,
Yeah.
but you make it work. I think the more you play shows, the more you kind of understand how you want to be live. And I think like every show kind of got better. Yeah, it's also really important to like communicate with your sound engineer
I can imagine.
about
man.
what you want. And when we were first kind of starting out, I think it was quite hard because there were a lot of people who had never had to mix live like a trumpet and a cello and
Right.
then just like and
Yeah.
so that was a bit tricky. But I think now the more people hear our music, the more they can be prepared to do that
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Now,
We're
and
getting
I saw
better.
that you had a song called Champion Runner, a live performance online somewhere. So that's not on the record. So is there a lot of stuff floating around that hasn't made it to the record that is in the
Yeah.
works?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's like no shortage of ideas, it seems. There's always just stuff coming into the works. It's really fun. Always new ideas that are being worked on.